All right, let me just do the recap again.
Bye.
What a fun Saturday. I actually forgot to hit the record button. Oh my goodness. All right. So welcome back to the show. To those that are just joining us for the first time, thank you for stopping by. My name is Mel, and this is the Merciful Podcast. Today I have someone that I was just waiting to share their story for a while. She's a sister to me, and we go a long way back since high school. And she's also a serial entrepreneur, an angel investor, and a humanitarian. And she's also a catalyst in the sense that she really understands the value of bringing to life visions that have the potential to transform human lives. She has spent over 14 years in finance, education, technology, and nonprofit across different entities like sales, operations, marketing, and fundraising. And through her ventures, Radiant Futures, she has done great work lifting women from low-income families from poverty while providing a bridge to their progenies through education. In addition to helping me manage some of my portfolios back home, she's also the godchildren, mother to my godchildren. She's happily married with 3 kids. And so everyone join me in welcoming my younger sister. And I use that word very, very intentionally. Funmi Okubanjo back to the podcast.
Okay. So like I said before, that 7 weeks difference, you can buy it now. They now sell it.
This is not Jacob and Esau.
They'll just induce the birth earlier. Then somebody can buy that.
Not for all the tea in China or kimchi in Korea. Well, I saw that bit right to you. So Funmi, thanks for coming. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Thanks for having me over. Thank you.
And I can't even wait for my listeners to really get to see, your passion and even get to know just how to even get it done. Because I know even talking to some of my friends who are here, they kind of talk about how they want to help back home, but they don't know how. So we can even highlight some of that. So let's start with, just the basic questions, right? And let's set the principles down. Because I know that a lot of who you are has been shaped by how you grew up and even your environment as well. So let's start from that. Can you tell us a little bit about you, where and how you grew up?
Okay. So I always find it very hard to talk about. Let me know if you can hear me, because the network has maybe stopped spotty today, but just let me know. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. You can. So growing up, how do I start? I grew up in a polygamous home. Yay! Yeah, it's one of the best things. It's one of the things I'm very proud of, really. I think it gave me the sense of community. It taught me how to bridge the gap between generations. So I'm number 12 of 14 kids. And so you have our firstborn who is there, and then I'm closer to the last batch. So pretty much different kind of people frequently dealing with. Now, my dad spent all his career in public service. And one thing my father was very passionate about, and he consistently spoke about, was the role of private citizens in shaping the community. So you see, my father, I remember when we were growing up, our gates were open for kids who were like economically disadvantaged to access our home to get water. And yes, much as even when we're teenagers, we didn't think it was very cool because you'd be like, oh, you're middle class family, you want to look all prim and proper, and you don't want other kids to intertwine or interact with you. That wasn't the case for us. My dad did he would do things like, and it was a Muslim, but a liberal Muslim. So he would also do Christmas carnival, where we have neighboring kids come into our home and you do the Santa and you give a gift. And when it's layer 2, you open the doors. So pretty much I grew up with a father that believed strongly in citizens creating whatever they wanted. So for someone who worked with governments up to the level of a director general, he was still always very insistent on, you can't wait for any structured body called government to come and do anything. You can expect them to. You can know by constitution that they should. However, the fundamentals of creating grassroots change really sits with the people who are there. If I wait for my state government to come, or I wait for my local government councillor to do anything, or chairman, then I'm not really making a difference, because he or she is probably dealing with politics every day. That is not going to remember all the problems that exist. But if I take the first step and do whatever little project it is, clean the gutters, whatever I choose to do, I trigger the interest in my councillor to feel more accountable to me, to take it up and be responsible in their way. So I'll say most of what I do today is because of my upbringing. It's because of my dad. My mom was also a civil servant, so she taught all her life. So I think the part of trying to do stuff in education comes from my mom. I saw my mom as a public school teacher spend most of her time coaching the mothers. So I remember a few times at Boys High School, which was one of the schools my mom taught us in Ibadan, and then you go and visit her. I'll see her after school, she would just wait behind and she's waiting for the mother of maybe a stubborn child to pick up the child, and she would just spend time talking to the mother, not so much the child. You know, she just feels like they flogged the child, they've dealt with the child in school, that's enough. Let me spend some time with the mom. She still does it. My sisters, we all laugh at her that she gives all, nobody asks you for advice, nobody asks you for help. You will jump forward and help, you jump forward and, you know. So, and I, you know, so pretty much what I do now is my family, my siblings, all my siblings have played one role or the other in my life. That's a fact. My dad, most especially, I always say that, and my mom, at least seeing her work in the public schools, gave me an understanding of the children's situation there, the quality of education there, and how individuals can actually still make a difference. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. So just even to recap, you talked about the roles of private citizens in shaping their community. You talked about seeing your dad in public service and how that even showed you that as individuals, we can make, you know, impact as well. We don't have to wait for our local government, as it were, to effect those changes. You also talked about your mom and just the passion she had for education, and not just shaping the minds of these, you know, young students that she was, you know, teaching, but also their parents as well. So I definitely can see how those separate entities have really formed who you are. So as a child, what was your dream? Like, what did you want to become when you grew up? And has there been like a harmonization of those dreams?
So as a child, I don't know if it was as a child. So say primary school, before age 11, you always have dreams of, oh, I would like to be an engineer because my dad was one. Then my mom, you know, pushed for the school of thought of medicine. So then you imagine, okay, maybe I could just go into medicine. No, I think I didn't have clarity as to what exactly I wanted to do before government class in SS1 in FGGCOU. So the first government class in FGCOU kind of defined me. That first class where we talked about the arms of government. And the first class, I thought the executive arm was school, but then I don't remember our teacher's name, and I don't remember if he took government, but then as I understood the role of as I understood the role of the legislative arm of government, I just said, you know what, maybe just Senate would just be good. Like that means I control the executive arm. I'm the one that decides what happens. So for a long time, very long time, I really my plan was, oh, I'll run for a senatorial district in Oyo State. I pretty much was what I thought about through university. So I have friends way back that call me Senator Funmi, and nowadays I have to catch up with them and say, you know what? Yeah. So now that has changed since I moved into technology. It might be because I then understood better how much we can create impact at scale. It probably also comes from the fact that I work with an amazing founding team in Giddy Mobile, where I realized that, see, if you create wealth as an individual in Africa, you can actually institutionalize change. You can literally create it, because the biggest challenge is poverty. So whoever has the capacity to address it, you might not be able to eradicate it, but reduce the impact, reduce the numbers, do something, create wealth for people. Then what I was hoping to do in the Senate, I don't need to wait to get to the Senate to actually do that. I can do that now. So lately, I'll say my focus has changed a bit more to say, how can I create better lives now? I don't need to become a senator to do that. If you ask me, I'm not sure if I'm still interested in that, as I've come to also understand this kind of sacrifices I will have to make to own a public office. And I've also seen some of the things my dad went through. I remember my dad's latter days in public service was humiliating, you know, to make it. Yeah, so I lately, looking at my kids, looking at my husband, who is very private, I just realized probably won't go down that path. So the path I'm sure of is the fact that I can create change. And so I'm more focused on being a social entrepreneur, finding ways to pull others up, build people, whatever it is I can do to make somebody else's life better, just do it. I don't need a political appointment. I no longer think I need a political appointment to create the world I want. So yes, so I'll say now, my mind is more fixated on social enterprise. Yeah.
I chuckled when you said medicine. You medicine. Oh my goodness. How? Like how? I think exactly where you're supposed to be. And I ever remember you were very good at further maths because there was that book. Was it Chaos Trout? Whatever that big further maths book was. Yeah. And I think I took further maths because of you. Like it's gonna be easy. And I failed that. Okay, let's go back in time. I got like a what? Was it like an F or so? In one of my term exams, I quickly dropped to like a hot potato because I was like, further maths is on my team. But I think what I've just drawn from what you said is just wherever we are, we can impact those changes. Earlier on, you mentioned being middle class, which I don't think you are, by the way. I think you're one of the 1%, but we'll save that story for another day. Why should the middle class, family care about poverty around them? Because, I mean, as you know, I think sometimes you even help me in putting this together. So I'm just going to ask that question for those that might be in the people. I get so overwhelmed. Like, I just want to do more and more and more. And you'd be like, more, just calm down. Just focus on this one first. Because I feel like there's so much need around me. And it's so overwhelming. Sometimes even that overwhelming feeling even crushes me to a grind that I don't even want to do anything because it's like, where can I start? First, why should we care about poverty around us? And for people like me who tends to get overwhelmed easily, because when I go home, especially going to Nigeria, I get so sad sometimes, when I see just abject poverty around me. And even though it helps me to appreciate what I have, I really want to keep doing more. But why should we keep caring? Especially given that sometimes you feel like, how much impact are you making? Are we really making an impact?
Okay, sorry. So I take notes so that what you're asking me and what I'm thinking, all those clash together at the same time, because I actually think out loud. So sometimes I'm just thinking and then you might not know I'm thinking out and you're thinking I'm actually responding. So I took down. So one is, why should we care about poverty? Okay. So I'll tell you a story, or not really a story, something I told someone recently. I met a young girl and I was discussing with her the potential of furthering her education. And she told me, oh, it's not possible. Like, there's no one to help me. Let me just continue this work I'm doing. And by the way, the work she's doing pays her below the minimum wage of 30,000, or is it now 35? I don't remember clearly now. And I then asked, I told her, I said, see, I'm going to give you a scenario. You find a way, you push through, you finally get married, you have kids, somehow you push through again, you're able to send your child through university, your child starts working, and because your child is gifted, your child gets a good job, and at the workplace, your child falls in love with this girl. And then the girl is from an elite family, and your child is from really an economically disadvantaged family. And I asked her, I said, the first time your child will visit that girl's parents, what do you think they will say? And she told me, oh, they probably ask, who are your parents? Which especially for us Africans is key. Parents know who your girlfriend's parents are. And I asked the girl, I said, what would they say? What would she say? What would your son tell his girlfriend's mom? And she paused. And I said, that's exactly why you cannot give up, because you will have struggled through life to get that child through that quality education, whatever you can do. But then at some point you look at yourself and you say, maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe I should have actually found a way to still go to school. Actually now that I just feel like for you to say someone is highly educated is possible. With the world of digital, a lot of things are possible. So you have opportunities for like Open University in Nigeria, so which then puts you in a place where you can actually access tertiary education while still working on a menial job. So poverty fundamentally has impact on the family systems. If you come home frequently, you know that even if you live in Ikoyi, your megad that you pay 75,000 to, he probably has 25 dependents in Maiduguri that depend on that 75K. And by the way, 75K, Ikoyi Megad is a big boy. So what happens the day is 25 people are pushed out of their home in Maiduguri, and somehow he has to bring 5 or 6 of them to Lagos. You're going to think it's not a problem for you, but it is. Because all of a sudden, 75,000 made sense when he had family stability and they were all living in Maiduguri. But the moment they have to move away from Maiduguri because of insecurity issues, then they're all in Lagos. It has 5 people to take care of. Security risk for you. The next thing you're thinking, the Sampai campaign, this guy is no longer enough. You start asking yourself, is this guy going to wake up one day, carry one machete and jump into my room and ask me to bring out every cash I have? So poverty fundamentally threatens the family system. It threatens our community stability. And if you also think of the fact that so much poverty exists in our community here, not solely because it should be that way, but it's because opportunity sits with a small group of people. And I know someone can say to me, oh, for me, that's the same globally. But here, opportunity really sits with a small group of people. A small group of people are assured of a future, as in there's guarantee, like no shaking, you'll be fine for the rest of your life. But there's a larger group, over 100 million of our people, over 90 million of our people now live below $2 a day. And I still beg to disagree, because that's assuming you're saying less than 1,000 naira a day. That's almost saying 30,000 naira a month. No, it's worse. It's really bad. It is bad. So poverty already tilts the balance of scale. 2, it threatens the family system. It puts a dent in the structure in a way that we're not mindful of. I can send my child to the best school, then if a thug down the street would hurt my child, just because that thug didn't get the opportunity my child has been given. So you see, the rich will try to protect the kids. We'll build the high walls around us. Then one day, just like a keg of gunpowder, everything goes boom. And that guy is knocking on your gates, pounding it down with a group of 100 people trying to pull your gate down. So poverty fundamentally threatens the family unit, threatens the safety and sanity of our communities. So for me, my belief is, as long as I am economically okay, then I should do something. The other thing you talked about, being overloaded about the pains and the problems here. So I used to feel like that for a long time. Radiant Future, I pretty much started 2015, 2016. And that was simply from a class, another story entirely. And when I started, I was overwhelmed. I was really overwhelmed. I literally, most times, I would have tens of women that potentially require help, or families. So when I started out, I wasn't even very focused on women. I was just really focused on how can we create business models? How can we do something? How can we drive private investments to low-income families? What can we do? And someone just told me once and said, Funmi, you are playing God. And so the moment the person said, I'm playing God, I literally I started thinking about it. I'm playing God, and I realized it's true. I'm trying to fix all the problems. I'm trying to help everybody, but I can't. And I do not have the capacity to. But what I can do is maybe I can help 3 people. Then I can convince 3 other people who are like me to say, you to look for 3-5 people to help. You see? Then if they tell me they don't have 3-5 people, I say, I have some people you can help. Yeah, take them. So one is just take a mindset that it's going to take a good number of us. So whenever you see the problem, just remember it's going to take a good number of us. Then you just select the one that's right under your nose that you can do something with. And where you need help, you just call. Say, oh, please, I'm having, like you always do, Funmi, I'm trying to help this person. I don't know what to do. What do you think? Yeah, you call. It's part of why I also set up the part of Radiant Features where we do charity administration. It's because I had friends like you who would say, I want to do good. But one, the emotional connection to the problem is so great that it's overwhelming. I have friends who come from low-income communities, and feel like they owe the community. And it's true, we do owe the community, but they do not have the mental capacity. They do not have the emotional stability to deal with it, either because they have other things they're also dealing with in their own lives. So they just need someone to kind of like outsource it to. And I like working with those kind of projects because you just point me to the people you're trying to help. And you see, it's easier for me than me looking for because in place of me also looking for the people, I also get overwhelmed. Like, oh, there's so much pain. But just don't play God. Just calm down, accept that it's going to take tens, hundreds, thousands of human beings like you to magnify the impact that you're trying to make.
Oh, wow. Where do I even start from? That was, beautifully summarized for me. And yeah, you have rescued me in many ways, especially when I know the person who has the issue and I don't want to get too involved and make it seem like, oh, I'm trying to help out. So Funmi is always my front person. When I know there's a problem and I know I can meet it, but I don't want to be the person. I don't want to be the known face, right? And there's a way she just does it beautifully over and over again. And she's someone I deeply trust with money. She's very savvy. She'll give it to you straight. So thank you for all you do. And I am also very appreciative of how you pointed the fact about not playing God. And I think at the very core of it, sometimes we do have that tendency, not because we're trying to be selfish. I think when we get so emotionally overwhelmed, we go into that mode where it's just like, I got to fix everything. But you don't have to fix everything. Wherever you are, you can start those changes. So thanks for that reminder. Now, how fast do you think Nigerians are responding? Because there's something you said about when you painted that picture of, you might be rich, you might have all the money in the world. But if you look at Lagos, for example, no matter how, fancy your house is, you're still going to get on that bad road like everybody. When lake is flooded, doesn't care about your zip code or your, your fence. Everybody's, we're all in this shitty water, no pun intended, together. So maybe it might even reek of being selfish to try and do good, but the way I see it, the outcome is that good is coming out of it, right? But how fast do you think Nigerians are responding to, the needs of the people around them through these community development initiatives?
Okay, so the first group of people I worked with, so a group of young men back then, and they spoke with me. They were trying to empower small businesses in a local government in Enugu. And they asked me, how can they do it? Given the fact that they travel home, come back to Lagos and they get busy. So I remember then we designed something very common actually with the grassroots microfinance banks and even cooperatives. We designed a group lending model that was deployed through the church welfare system. I share that because part of the things that make it hard for people to respond positively to community development initiatives or think of ways to just help the community is usually questions around sustainability. How do I keep it going? So if you ask someone, just drop 100,000, walk away, this is another charity project, they do it and they just tick the box, but it's very hard for them to know how much impact that 100,000 has created. So instead, what I tend to do is to say, how can we take the 100,000 and recycle it several times? So that's why, for example, I'll tell you, okay, the 100K, let's invest in this woman. Then when she's repaying you, I'm already telling you, you have this other woman. So you're recycling, it's the same, pool of funds you're recycling. So what I've seen now is when I talk to people about recycling their fund, basically, let that 100K, let it do multiple good somehow. Do it in such a way that, a portion of it might not, it doesn't necessarily have to come back to you, but instead of it going in a way that you cannot count or measure how many lives it's impacting, you can then do that. Now, response is better, especially for younger people, by the way. Younger people in the last few years, for me, have become very, very responsive. When I first started out, I depended a lot on the older people, but the older people understood charity as it is, which is they drop the money and they walk away. But because a number of young people, it's just hitting wealth, they're just beginning to make this sense income and they feel again like they should give back, but they want to give back in a way that they don't feel like, I'm just giving money out. Like they want to know what's happening.
They want to be involved,
so want to be involved. So what I'm saying now is people are not just, for for example, investing in low income women we work with. Have few partners that will come and say, Funmi, please, if you are coming to any area close to where I stay, let me know. Oh, this is the state I come from. If you guys plan on doing anything in that state, let me know. You see, so people are now saying, I will give my time and I'll give my money. And then I'll give my time on my own terms, but my money can do multiple things for those people. So now the response is better, but I know it will get greater as more youth earn better income. The more people earn, be it Nigerians in diaspora, who by the way are most of the people I work with, than those locally, it helps. Nigerians in diaspora, they're an interesting breed. Yeah, because most of the guys I work with, their fingers have been burnt. Like, I've had people tell me things like, Funmi, I gave somebody 500K. I don't know where the business is today. So, and there is always question of, I don't know what's happening. Then also know that culturally, we're not very accountable. Yeah, there's that thing of Tolani trust me. The trust Tolani has in me is sufficient. I don't need to, there's no need to be saying reporting to her, which is also something I try to do differently. I try to report, like, this is how it's going. And I'll send you word for word. Yes, I can even over report because I know that the other party needs, transparency is key to make this work. So everybody has to get transparent about the process. Everybody has to get open. So I involve my partners in lots of ways. Like sometimes we sit down together, look at the company profile and they have to review. Sometimes, like lately, now that I have a partnership to do some sort of outreach and training for micro traders, I have partners that I'll go admit it. So this is what this company is saying. What do you think? So they've gone beyond just angel investors that help the families and women I work with. They've actually become almost like we're working together. I don't want to say they're volunteers because sometimes they're doing more work than volunteers will. Yes. So the response is getting better as long as there's transparency and accountability. It is.
Thank you. That's really, really good. And I should just say that the questions I've been asking so far, they might make me look smart. Actually, Funmi came up with them. So thank you for that. And spot on that, especially how we can get involved and even citing some examples about the different demographics you're working with. And I say this, like, I remember when I approached you about wanting something back home. I'm moving to the US and realizing that I couldn't move back to Nigeria like I wanted. I still wanted to maintain some form of just doing some good, now that I'm in a spot where I can do some good. But it was very difficult finding out how to get about doing that. Because like you said, I've been burnt many times, and it's just about when people just think, well, you gave me the money, but why do you even need it back? That kind of thing. But it's not really about that. It's about transparency. It's about being accountable. And I love what you do. I mean, she would send you reports, even over reports. She would give you like all the micro details, what your money is doing. You would get pictures, you would get updates. If you want to even do direct mentorship with the person, she would set it up. And I think that's very, very beautiful and different from, the other, not that I've even ventured with other people, but it's always been one-on-one, which sometimes, feels for me. But I think your philosophy behind it, like your transparency and even trying to make it more of a cross collaboration. I think that's very, very beautiful. Now, we have a question for one of the guests. They would like to know, how can we start teaching financial empowerment to the youth from a very young age? I didn't learn a lot about money until, let me just say, I still don't know a lot about money. I just know how to make it. And I'm glad I'm surrounded with someone like my husband and you who are very savvy with money. Because I mean, my philosophy is just to make it and spending when I can. I don't go overboard, but there's still so much I don't know about money. But I'm thankful that, I have people who can think about the future and, maybe invest and do all kind of stuff. And I'm actually quite excited about the fact that I'm able to see those impacts, because one of the things you do, which we're going to talk about later on, is you tie education to it, which is very, very important to me, as you know, I'm in education. And this is why, I really bought into your dream and all that. But let's start with, teaching financial empowerment to youth from a young age. Where should it start from? Should it be from the parents? Should it be from school? Do we need to do an overhaul of our curriculum, or is it going to be both?
Okay, so that's a good question. And my answer, so a bit of background for the person asking. So because I've managed a large private school before that had kids from ages 1+ to 18, 19, that's pre-university. And with that experience, I worked closely with regulators in the education space. Whenever it gets to people talking about, oh, let's change our curriculum, I don't jump on that quickly because I understand the bureaucracy that exists in that world. And I also understand how much the commissioners in each state would make attempts to introduce some of these programs. But the moment the commissioner is out of the office and a new one comes in because they're political appointments, it becomes tricky to sustain them. However, I also remember from maybe primary school, we had few like extracurricular activities or clubs that will indirectly try to teach you some of these things. But again, schools have limited time with the children because you already have about 6 to 7 hours to deliver on your scheme of work per day. Then you probably will have just another 1 hour to do anything extracurricular activity. And in extracurricular activities, you're trying to cover to kids with interest in arts, you're trying to cover interest in science, sports, and all of that. So you see, to throw in specialized programs like financial literacy becomes a bit tricky. I personally started learning about personal finance, I think, in GS1. Fortunately, I went to a Catholic school for the first 3 years. And then they gave us like a book that you had to like keep records of all your expenses. And my mom, when she comes for visiting day, part of the ways I could convince her to say, oh, I actually need more money, and this is why, was I can bring out that book and say, Mom, you see, that last week it was like we spent 100 naira. And I could refer to record keeping, so that helped. Then next class that helped me. So if I'm talking about this so that the person asking can also see that somehow there's a bit of financial literacy happening in the educational system already in the curriculum. Then the other class that taught that was economics. You're taught about needs and wants. I think that's chapter 1 of your economics class based on the Nigerian curriculum I experienced in secondary school. Then in bookkeeping and accounting, I don't remember Frank Wood. There's a book called Frank Wood, but you see, economics, accounting, unfortunately, are not subjects that everybody gets to take. So you cannot wait for the schooling system to do it. The family unit has to do it. And there are simple ways family units can teach their kids financial literacy. You can have your budget. So just the same process we require in the corporate world or in government to create a national budget or to create company budgets is the same principle you apply at home. You have a budget, you break it down. Food, allocation for food is this. Allocation for education is this. Allocation for health is this. And in that process, especially when you're working with kids who can already read and write, who can get involved in your shopping activities, they should be involved in that. I know that some bookstores sell the hard copy, like cash flow books. They're just like books I can buy. They're like ledgers that you can buy off the bookshelf, off the bookshelf in some stores. So if you're working and you say, oh, I need a book for budgeting or something, an exercise book, by the way, they can give that to you. So in terms of teaching the kids learn by what they see. It's not so much just you telling them. I can sit down with my kids and talk about needs versus wants, but I can better teach it when my son follows me to the supermarket and he's pointing at marshmallow and I'm saying, you guys need milk for your cereal this week. The marshmallow, like when Nigerians, marshmallow shake, like what do you want to do with marshmallow? You don't need that, like, well, you need the milk. So I then say, remember needs versus wants. Which one is a need? Which one is a want? You see, that's practical. So when it gets to financial literacy, I usually just tell parents, take charge of that. And in financial literacy, you have to teach how to make money. You have to teach how to spend money. You have to teach how to save/invest money. So it's not about how to spend only. So it's not about, needs versus wants. We don't buy that. We don't need it. No, but it's also how do we make money? And it's simple. You can have conversations with your kids. How do we make money? Your child likes to draw. And for most African parents, they'll say, turn that passion to a business venture. When it's making money, I'll take you serious. It's true. So you can teach kids little things like it's holiday season, and maybe in your neighborhood, there are lots of parents that have cars. I know the estate where I lived, open estate, so you could see people with cars. there were a group of kids, ages 7 or 8. They went door to door. They did like small flyers, handwritten flyers, and they were asking parents, can we wash your cars? I'm sure their parents felt embarrassed by the idea. However, my community encouraged those children, and few parents allowed the children to wash their car. And they paid, instead of going outside to wash for 1,000 naira, they paid 500 naira. Now, you see, also teaching kids to make money requires a certain level of humility on your part as a parent. You realize that your child trying to go into venture is not an insult on your ability to provide for them. It's just you giving them some form of entrepreneurial expression. So we teach it at home. We cannot wait for the school to teach it. And if you want the school to teach it, then it means you have to find a way to ensure that your kids attend classes where those things are discussed. So in Nigerian curriculum, you see that usually in accounts, economics. I think a part of business studies should now cover that. Yes. Then I know in some foreign curriculum, there's some part of math that also covers that, but is where we teach on profit. So there's some math topic where you talk about simple profits and all of that. So they taught us in primary school, but they didn't explain it literally to us within the context of creating wealth or making money. So parents need to teach it at home. And we teach by doing, not by telling the kids. It's showing them, involving them in the process.
Wow.
I hope that helps.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. And I love what you said about getting comfortable, because I remember when I was younger, I think I was out of high school, just that gap between high school and university. And there was this call center that had an opening by my house. And it was going to pay me, was it 1,500 or 3,000 naira per month? It was a lot of money for me then. I remember telling my dad, and he just shut it down. And the look he gave me, it was like, no, you cannot do that. Yeah. But that thing of you saying your child trying to go into ventures is not an insult on your capability to provide for them. I think that's something we need to be very comfortable with. I think teaching them about money, right? And also, maybe to those that might be here, there's a credit card. No, it was a debit card. It's called Green Lights. And it's supposed to help your kids know how to save money. It provides them with a debit card. There's no annual fees on it. And I think the recommended age is between 9 and 14. They can learn how to save, how to maybe save towards something, but how to, the putting the money into it is what you can teach them as parents. How can they put money into it? Not from the, tooth fairy and all that. But I think just you balancing both what we can do as parents and what we can also teach our kids. But above all, is showing them, right? We can't just talk the talk and not walk the walk. It's showing them, it's modeling what that looks like. But I feel like for parents like me, we need to catch up on that. Like, how do we even learn about financial literacy ourselves, so that by the time we're teaching our kids, we're coming from a place of knowledge and we're not just doing things that is just, feel good and touchy in our heads. So thanks for that reminder. Really, really appreciate it. We're gonna enter the Q&A session soon, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And I would like to acknowledge everybody on the Zoom chat. Thanks for joining. I can see Ms. Kemi Sariki, thank you. Dr. Shomoye, thank you. Of course, Falabi as well, and everybody. T-Dog, H, I don't know who H is, but thanks for joining. Now let's talk about some good stories, right? Can you share one of the most fulfilling moments you've had so far with the women you serve? I mean, I see pictures, I see the smiles, and I know you're always happy whenever you go see them. And one of the things I've seen is that even these women you've helped, you've turned them into catalysts as well. Their lives are not the same for sure, but you've sparked a fire in them that they can't even look at their community the same way. They go on and become agents of change. So even though you keep talking about the impact you've made on one life, there's no way to even tell the other lives, you've changed by the virtue of that one person that you helped many years ago. But let's talk about one story, maybe one fulfilling moment that really stays with you. And perhaps that's one of the reasons you keep going.
Okay. Thank you for that. So as you said it, I was actually trying to pick one. And I think I'll pick this particular lady. So she's our women's leader in Ikorodu, in Ikorodu community, which by the way, we probably have to split that place because Ikorodu is a large.
That's where I'm from, by the way. You're not from Ikorodu, yes. Right?
I didn't know. Really.
Yeah.
It's a very community. It's very large. So she was like the Adamu axis of Ikorodu, and so that's still further out, really. She's been on our program for 2-3 years now. She was pregnant, and I remember while she was pregnant, she reached out to me and told me she's pregnant with a child. The guy she got pregnant for is not willing to take the child. It's caused a lot of family problems. And, and I just spoke with her and I said, we have to find a way. We have to just find a way through this. And literally when I was telling her, I remember I was also pregnant with my twins then. And I looked at myself, I was pregnant with my twins. I was not working. I'm talking to another woman, giving her assurance. And in my head, I'm like, you're giving assurance. How are you going to help her? Like, baby, you need help. So anyways, she made it through. She gave birth and she reached out to me. She stayed in Ilorin for a while, then came back to, unfortunately, when she had the child, I don't know what they call it medically, but the kids that should start sitting by 6-7 months and they're not yet sitting and their head is not still. I'm sure you know what that condition is called. I don't remember now. It's not cerebral palsy though. Is
it like a muscular dystrophy or spinal muscular atrophy? Without saying that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. They also don't walk quickly, so it takes them a longer time to walk. And she visited me 2020. She visited me with a child. And before 2020, we just kept on talking on phone while she was in Kwara. And I encouraged her to come back to Lagos because the family pressure was too much. Single mother with a special needs child, it wasn't easy on her. Plus, our community was far from any primary health center, so she had to travel a long distance, hours on the road to get any care. Then she'd reach out and said, oh, good thing, a friend of ours said she could come to Lagos, so she moved to Ikorodu. And when she moved to Ikorodu, we had the call again, and I said, when she visited me, I said, you have to decide what you want to do. And she said, okay, she'll just start a business. So we said, fine, how much would she need? I think then she needed like 90K to start. Our shop rent for a year was 60,000. It was quite cheap. And she was just going to buy few fast-moving consumer goods to get started. So that's like detergents, biscuits, just minor things. But she wanted the store because she felt if she had the store, then she can push herself to expand. And I also thought, yes, get a store. If your KPIs look good and you're doing well with your business, we can find angel investors that could help to extend our business activities. Now, she's grown from that stage. Last year, we got her on a POS machine. So she started out with a grant of 90,000. In 6 to 9 months, we saw that she was making progress. We didn't require her to refund or anything. Then she asked for low interest loan. We supplied that to her. Then last year, she told us, POS was lacking in our community. Financial reach was very low. It's something she felt she could do. So we had like a mini, I call like a mini informal training with her over the phone to say, okay, these are the things you have to do. So something I always big on with my women is record keeping. I think that's fundamental for them to be able to access finance, either through our partners or if there's no records, it's just literally hard. So most of the conversations we always have is always around record keeping. Then some sort of like counseling support because they're listening. Now, I visited her last year, December, and I saw her son. So while in her shop, I told her, I would like to wait for your child to come back from school. And I was still there at 3:00 and the boy was not back. I said, can we go to the school? Like, I want to see him. And so she took me there. And when we got there, I just saw the boy running. This was a child that the last time I saw him, he couldn't even stand.
Wow.
You could still, when you see, he couldn't even stand. And she just thought, the boy just saw, he's not speaking well, but like the sight of that woman just running to meet her child, I just felt honored. That's the word. Like, I literally felt like there's nothing better than this. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, like there's literally nothing better than this, that you give a woman hope and you give a child hope. Because that's it. Most of the women I work with, when you ask them, why do you do what you do? And that's why, by the way, I include the education program. The education program is not just another scholarship scheme I try to push to partners. I say, see, I'm using it to and I'm using your charity scholarship to push them to be productive economically. Because every time I ask them, why are you doing it? The last Matogun women I met with in January, 25 women paid, by the way, they paid for the first time to show for their own training. And I sat and I said, okay, all of you, why are you doing it? Every woman there is doing it because of their child. And for the married ones, they're doing it because of their husband. So fundamentally, women or low-income women seek economic prosperity, not for themselves, but for their families. So it means that if I enable a woman, I'm taking a thug off the streets, because what she feels she needs is if she has the capital to support her husband, because she's low income, because her husband is low income. If she was married to a $10, for Christ's sake, she would not be low income now. You know, she's doing that. I remember just seeing her run, and it was, and I carried him, and we went back to the store together. And I just asked her, so is this, like, the boy is still kind of, but I could see the possibility of growth. I could see the hope that she has, and I could see the confidence she has to take care of that child. The reason why she has her issues, by the way, like she has pains, but the fact that she's doing economically well, she's not put under any pressure to involve in any form of social vices that will make her compromise on her personal values. A lot of people look at poor people and think, most of them might be people with zero values. No, sometimes poverty, I tell people, like, poverty is like darkness. You literally need a great degree of light to clear it out. If you just shine a small touch, you could see a bit of focus, but there's still a lot of dark spots. That's the same thing. So when you see her, and you see that she can feed a child, she can feed herself, she can pay her rent. Nobody will offer certain things to her and she will just jump on it, except if she's greedy, except if she's greedy. So that's for me, a memory, but maybe because it's still fresh, it's just always very encouraging. Like I think about it, and maybe because that child is a special needs child, I've never imagined a world where what I was doing would have impact on a special needs child. Never. I never thought about it, because I didn't really see that happening. I just never thought of it. So yeah.
Wow, that also got me in my feelings. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, just want to say that. And I really liked what you said about empowering women, because I know some might say, why not the men, right? Women were very selfless at the very core of it. And like you said, they want to do it to live their own, family members, not even themselves, right? So if we're empowering women, we're actually empowering the community. So it's still the same thing, right? We're still lifting people out of poverty. And I also liked what you even highlighting, that sometimes we don't know the impact our effort to put into place, right? We don't know what the impact is. Just do it. You never know the kind of life you're saving. I'm sure that woman will never forget you. She will never, ever forget you. And her life has not been the same. Now we're almost rounding off. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. And like we said, we're going to be raffling 3 opportunities for you to have a 30-minute free consultation with Funmi on financial planning, on literacy. So if you'd like for your name to be included in that, you can put your name in the chat, or in the comment section, or just send me a direct DM, so that way we can include you into that. Now, Funmi, let's talk about Radiant Futures, right? Especially the education bit. You kind of talked about it, but let's flesh it out a little bit, because I think that's one of the unique things about you. And people will ask, okay, so if I give this person my money, how am I guaranteed to get it back? Well, there's a way Funmi does it, and you almost always get your money back. So Funmi, just maybe talk a little bit about Radiant Futures, how it got started, because I know you're a very busy person. You have your hands in so many pies, Gideon Mobile, Legion Hill, what's that one? This Strativium, yeah, and then Radiant Futures. How do you even balance all these things? But let's talk about your business, actually the challenges and the opportunities of starting a business like that in Nigeria. We know it's not quite easy, right? And what's that competitive edge you have about the education piece? Expand on it, because I think it's also an opportunity for you to even maybe see those who might be interested. How do I invest back home and guarantee that I'm going to get it back, or guarantee that my money is actually doing what it's supposed to do?
Okay, so thank you for the question. So there's 3 pieces to Radiant Futures. There's one, capacity development, which is really training. There is two, access to finance. And there's three, incentives, okay? So the education program we run falls under the incentives. While access to finance is the expected outcome from our trainings. The women we work with, they need the financial literacy to be able to put their books in order, to be able to design business models that will work for the communities in which they exist in. So I always tell my women, when you're choosing a business, you have to look at one, what's the need? What's your community looking for? And two, what do you have? Once the two crosses, once what you have in terms of skill sets or know-how, whatever it is, I'm not talking about some education degree here, whatever your skills is, even your passion, whatever it is, once it matches with a sense of a market, then you are creating a business. So the access to finance piece for us, we work with individuals like yourself. And now, because of the work we've done with individuals, we now have a financial and social inclusion company. So they're a fintech business. They're very focused on giving finance to micro entrepreneurs, traders. Now, the partnership with them has opened us up for another level of reach, which is good. Final point, which is what you asked for, the education. The education program is simple for me. It's simply, I have a community, and again, I do group models. So you have the communities, in those communities, you have groups. How do you drive the behavior of utilizing the capital that Tolani or my microfinance bank will provide to my women? How do I drive the behavior of utilizing it? I do some sort of incentives. I say, whoever best maximizes the investments they receive, either from our individual partners or from the corporate partners, your children can access this scholarship fund. And in the scholarship fund, before now, we financed up to tertiary education. So we do things like you want to do university degree. However, that's become quite expensive lately. And I've been pushing more for vocational training, because the women also tell me, I have women who their kids are already learning barbing from age 9, you know? So I started saying, okay, it means our scholarship now needs to provide finance to allow their kids access vocational training. So which means in my Matogun community, my best 2 women who are effectively utilizing the capital provided to them, either through the private investor or the corporate investor, they will access scholarship, their children. So if any of them picks the phone and speaks to their women leader, and so Mama, Alomo, which means I have this child at home, is very interested in vulcanizer, but I can't take from my business funds. You see, I'm doing well. Once we see that you're doing well, we're happy to help. So we take the child. She wants to go to vulcanizer. Again, I have grassroots local women leaders. That's something I'm building out. So the woman leader's responsibility is to help me go and meet the vulcanizer the child wants to learn and confirm and verify. Then we'll pay them to train the child. So the message goes round the group to say, Iyalagbaja, that means, okay, the English of Iyalagbaja, the mother of somebody has
Somebody's mom.
access to that. Yeah. Somebody's mom has access to that scholarship. So now, his child is now learning this. I also personally have a philosophy that it's easier to create blue-collar jobs for low-income families than it is to create the white-collar jobs. The white-collar jobs, like you know, the opportunities rotate with the people who already have the opportunities. It's harder for a child coming from a low-income background to break into that space, unless you're as brilliant as Tolani and your IQ is very high, like my husband's own. I knew it's always going to laugh right now. So otherwise, I tend to push for exceptional blue-collar job training. So if there's a great carpenter in that community that can transfer his skills to any of our children under the education program, we make that available. So, and again, the education program is usually financed by partners. So I have few partners that are strict charity oriented. They are not very keen about the investing. They all over reporting. They're not very, just like for me, do we have the scholarship bucket? Just let me just see how many children and what the reach is and all of that. So that's how we fund that. The other thing is, anytime I now talk to microfinance banks, I'm very big on emphasizing to them, if I will do any work with them, they have to plan to set aside a portion of their CSR to support an incentives program that Radiant Pictures will design for them. Because for us, even if I'm making capital available to a woman, I should reward her behavior. Local research has also shown that women are more creditworthy. However, the main challenges they're having now is the financial literacy. So they just don't have enough knowledge. I know women also constantly doubt themselves. So that's why. And we're still not, I won't say we're still 100% focused on women, most especially because when we work with some partners, they are looking at an entire sector. They're not fixated on women. So some will just say, oh, we're working with entrepreneurs. So they say for me, man or woman entrepreneurs, and then you have to do it. But I personally have a thing for the low-income women because I've known, and it's natural, it happened naturally. That was not my goal. It just happened naturally that everybody I ever had the opportunity to interact with and to help ended up being women. And the more I understood them and their needs, the more I just leaned to say, okay, this group I really do understand, this group I can connect with. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, a whole lot. So let's recap that. So you've identified so many gaps, and I mean, Funmi is super smart, even though she won't give herself that credit, or maybe she will, because I know this girl, she's always complimenting herself, in the sense that she identifies the gap, right? And she knows how to meet these women. First, the lack of financial literacy, she will teach them how to balance the checkbook, how to manage the funds. And then she does that thing about the healthy competition. I mean, if I were to be a low-income woman and you're telling me that you give me money to start a business, and if I use that money, well, you might sponsor my kid to some form of vocation or education. Just imagine how brilliant that is, right? You're not even just only helping this woman, because whatever you're even giving her would help her, her family, but then you're adding another layer of incentive, a bonus education. So this is why I invest for me. This is why I feel like, okay, it's not just the money anymore, right? It's also the opportunities you're providing. And for someone living abroad like me, the barrier to entry to this kind of investment is almost negligible. I mean, unfortunately, with the naira and the dollar always playing, yo-yo and all that, it favors me. And I hate to put it that way, because whenever the dollar goes, higher than the naira, I know that things are going to get in hard back home. All I'm just trying to say is that whatever you send, it goes a long way in helping his family. And you get those reports, there's a face to it. It's not like, an unknown person. You will know the person you're helping if you even want to be in contact with that person. I remember that other person we helped, and she'll send pictures. I mean, she's still always sending me good. I'm like, don't worry. Like, she's always still thankful. I'm like, don't worry. And I think that was why I just don't want to do anything direct anymore, because it gets overwhelming. But all that to say that I love your initiative. I love how you've thought it, all through. And it also shows the kind of heart you have for the community. It's not just putting money away. It's not just throwing money at the problem. You're looking at, okay, how can we help these women so they don't, get stuck in this cycle? You're changing generations, you're changing lives. And I want to thank you for what you do. And thank you for even letting me be a tiny part of that. I mean, it's so mind-blowing. Now, we have a comment by one of my my big mommies, and so Mrs. Sariki, if you're able to unmute and make your comment quickly before we round off.
Okay.
Okay. All right, ma.
Yeah. So thank you so much for this presentation. It's actually hopeful that somebody of a younger generation have this kind of projection and believe in the society to be able to help, especially women, because we become a society whereby men are not held accountable for the welfare of their children, as well as the society in general. But I'm so happy that you're doing something positive and continue doing it. Whatever I could be of any help, maybe some other project that you're working on, maybe you could share it with the host, and then we look through there and be able to see, what someone can tap on. One thing that I would really love if you can look into is that how can I know culturally, we usually, women depend on their children to care for them at old age. But how can the society, you implement in such a way whereby you educate women about putting money aside for themselves? Because there's no guarantee that your children will take care of you at your old age. I see so many women suffering at the old age, whereby they have no source of income, no source of anything that will be able to help them. They depend, maybe if they put so much effort on their children, and when they get older, they will be able to take care of them. So how can you come up with a program or a project that will be able to focus on retirement age, mostly for these women?
Wow, that's the issue of black tax. And I should tell you that Funmi, you probably don't know her yet, but Mrs. Seriki is the convener of the Pansa Forum. She's very Pan-African. She has a heart to just help especially young. You probably came to her episode, if you remember. She talked about bringing the gap between families and children. So
Harry. Okay. Okay, let me just thank you so much for that, Ma. Thank you. And yes, Eshigoni, Ma, thank you so much. You just challenged me actually. So, and in my head, I'm really thinking of my mom and the several kind of conversations I always have with her. I actually humbly accept that parents need to be cared for by their kids. I humbly accept that, even though more and more is becoming a difficult thing for most people to commit to. And I've had the privilege to do personal financial sessions for retirees, actually. I did that, I think last year, December, but I didn't have enough time to engage and really listen. I'm sure if I had the opportunity then, I probably started playing with that in my mind to say, how can we structure some sort of financial literacy program for our older mothers? How can we help them? But the truth, from what I saw just from that small experience, is sometimes it was already too late what I was sharing with the women, because I was talking to grandmothers who were already 60 plus, 70 plus. And as much as they appreciated everything I said around investment, structuring a plan for themselves, they felt it was already late. So that's part of why I push strongly for financial literacy now, while some people are still young, so they can get that out. But I will still, because you've challenged me, I'll just think of ways. My immediate thoughts based on the information I have available, for example, is there are things like micro health insurance that are available now in Nigeria, in the Nigerian market, where elderly people can actually get access to insurance plans with as low as, I think, 1,000 or 1,500 naira per month. And they also have the National Health Insurance Scheme that covers them. However, few private insurance providers are trying to come up with something cheaper. What I've seen is those kind of plans help them for medical needs, but it doesn't totally solve the financial gaps or problems that they might be facing. So I can still reach out beyond the score, just speak your mind on what you've seen, what you think can still be done now. And I can sit and put together a plan for such women. I will also definitely consult my mom, because, and just see, maybe few times I've spoken with her about her own personal finances. If there are things she's picked and realized that, oh, Funmi, you could actually share that with anybody my age, because I listened to you, I did it, and it's working. So thank you. I've taken note of that, Ma. So Tolani will do the introductions, then
I'll do that. And I think she also touched on the black tax issue, which we can definitely explore, which brings me to my very last question. How can people find you? And we already had one person show interest in getting that free 30-minute consultation. Again, we have 2 more spots. If you like a 30-minute consultation with Funmi on whatever questions you might have about financial planning or investing, trust me, it's gonna be worth your time. Trust me, okay? I don't just throw things out on the podcast, you guys know. So if you like that, you can send me a personal message or put it in the chat right now. And from where can people find you? And I know you have even some ventures coming up, because we had a chat, a while back. Yeah, let's talk about that quickly before we go.
Okay. So in terms of us catching up, so now in my head, I'm like, okay, how do I post this? I have to go and check what's the name of the handle. So one is I have Radiant Features Limited on LinkedIn and Instagram. Those two platforms, because that's where most of our partners are. Then personally, I'm still quite private when it gets to social media. I filter things a lot. So, but I'm also kind of active on Instagram as Funmi Okubanjo. So I can just drop that. I want to drop that in the chat, so that could help.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if anybody can connect with this.
Yeah, and I'll put all of her stuff. I don't even know how she does it. She's very private. I'm trying to bring her out, thanks to Tosi and the people that have sent to her to make her more open like this. I'm almost surprised she came on the show. Final question from one of our listeners is there a model where they just sow? They don't want to like invest, they just want to sell. They think what you're doing is awesome, and they just want to like a type of initiative where they just have the money, they just leave it and go. They don't want to invest, they just want to sow it to you. Do you have a model like that?
Okay. Yes, we do. So like I always tell you, Tolani, most of the people who work through us, I tell them convert your charity to semi-investment in your mind. So it's pretty much what you do. So they just set aside a fund in givings or whatever, but then you subscribe to our newsletter database. So you get frequent updates on each. So we have buckets for these various funds that sit with a licensed MFB, microfinance institution. So that's where we manage all our investments in the women from. We also usually will send you list of the women we're supporting, how things are moving with them. But the motive really is give and let us just recycle your giving. Yeah, like just put the money there, let us recycle it so that if it's your $200, your $200 can serve 2 women, and in 6 months can serve another batch of 2 women. Pretty much that's how it's done. So yes, most people that actually even support us, that's what they do. They just give the fund in. They ask us for what we're trying to work towards. They look at the buckets they're interested in. Is it they're interested in giving business grants, if they're interested in the scholarship, or they're interested in the equity contributions we'll make to the business, then they choose and they just put the allocation there. So yes, that is done. So anyone that's interested, I can share some materials with Tolani. Or Tolani can do the introductions, then we can get it moving from there. But yes, please, I try to encourage a lot of women in diaspora, even locally back at home. We are those of us who are opportuned and those of us who are blessed economically, we are responsible, we are custodians of the wealth we have, and we need to find a way to give back. We need to find a smart way to create the change we want. So women enabling women is our thing. We have to just do it. We can do it. Yes, I'm so excited to work with more women on this. Please reach out to me. I also have my email address. I'm just going to drop that. I'm in fact more responsive on email than
that. Well, there's a tail question that came from that one about for those that want to invest, is there like a percentage of annual returns or interest rate, blah blah blah? So she did say blah blah blah.
Yeah, so again, there is, but when you invest in the women, it's pretty much we are connecting you as an angel investor to the woman. So you invest in her directly. We tell you, so usually that will be like equity. So you co-own a business for the minimum is a year. The maximum we do right now is 2 years, because sometimes women are very mobile. She might be living in Matogun today, and for one reason or the husband says, oh, I found a job in Ekwe, and she's gone. So 1 to 2 years, you can share in our profit. But all we do is like we're the bridge that's connecting the low-income woman to another woman that is able to help her. So yes, we have people who do that. Tolani has done that quite a bit too with people. So yes, we will.
Yeah. I mean, the level of investment you want to put in, the level of your commitment of your time, she'll work with you. It's not just your money, it's also whatever you're able to do. And you can tell her what your vision is. She's very accommodating. So T-Dog, did you want to say anything? You're muted. Oh, T-Dog. Anyway. Oh yeah. Hello? For you. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, kudos to Funmi for the great work she's doing. It's really laudable, and I didn't know the extent to which your outreach is going and making a difference in women's lives. So Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know Tolani had mentioned something like that in the past, but she didn't go into detail about the intricacies. So this was very informative. Good job.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you.
T-Dog is my husband, for those wondering. Thanks, babe. So, this brings, I really wish I could keep talking to you, but I know that even these little bits we've dropped into the fountain of knowledge we're trying to create on the podcast will go a long way. I'll do the necessary introductions. We'll have one person say they want to meet with you, and I'm also going to introduce you to Ms. Sariki as well. And for those that are still here, if you still like to be mentored, I'm not mentored, like that 30 minutes free consultation, we still have 2 spots. So if you like that, please just send me a message. It's redeemable anytime. There's no cap to that. And I want to thank everyone who's tuned in today. Special thanks to Funmi's husband who's on this call as well. I don't know if you want to say anything. Afolabi, I would yield the mic to you if you'd like to say anything. To Mrs. Sariki, Dr. Shomaye, Dr. Harry Olamiju, Dieko, Naika, of course, my sister from Kenya, and everyone here. Thank you for joining us on an early Saturday morning. And for me, we got a lot of work to do, and thanks for always bringing the challenge and the support. And I thank you so much for coming on the show. And so check her out on Funmi Okubanjo. That's OLUFUNMI OKUBANJO @gmail.com. I'm also going to tag it on the show notes so that way you see it. I'm also going to put her Instagram handles as well. All right. Well, Falabi, Falabi, do you want to say anything before we go or not? All right, there you go.
I'm standing in the middle of the.
Is it talking?
Okay. No,
I think you might be muted. You can't hear you, Falabi, if you're trying to say anything.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Hi, thanks for taking the time out to actually to talk and to listen. And Funmi, thank you for taking the time out to actually expand on what you're doing. All I just wanted to say is that what she's doing, what she's trying to do is something that just needs everyone in all aspects to contribute. I think the biggest thing here is that, as you said, it's not just about the money. Oftentimes the money is important. The money is very important, but it's not just about that. It's about just being able to open your mind to the concept that you can do better for everyone. It's not about trying to make hyper millionaires out of everyone. It's about lifting up communities to provide a much more improved basic standard of living. We can hit that. If we can make that actually work, we can raise better families, better people, and give everyone a better life. We start from there and we move on from that. So people, it's like, as you talk about this, as you look at it, don't look at it in a way that, oh, I don't have a lot of money to give, or I don't have a lot of time. Every little thing counts. And it's not just what you can do, it's what you can tell others to do. So please, everyone, I know you've done so much to actually spread the word, but please do spread the word. Share it, share Facebook, Instagram, Zoom, wherever you have it, word of mouth, everything matters. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we can wrap up the show. All right, everyone. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and thank you so much. Please keep an eye out on more initiatives like this. We plan to just keep bringing stories to improve on our communities as well. And perhaps if there are topics you'd like for us to explore on the show, actually, this topic on financial literacy came from one of our listeners. So thanks to Dr. Joanna Otashi for that recommendation. We would love to hear more from you guys as well. On behalf of everyone on the show, I want to say, have a good one. Arifa, you want to say bye-bye to everybody and blow a kiss? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Want to play kiss? Bye-bye. Want to play kiss? Bye, everybody. Have a lovely weekend. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye.
For me, I'll give you a call soon.
Sure. Bye.
All right, bye.